Hello, this is a follow-up to my Larapinta loadout video. So I finished the trek about a week and a half ago, yeah, what I thought I'd do is basically go through and explain what I did or didn't use. Truth of the matter is I actually used almost everything that I took, so there's very few things that I wouldn't take again. So what I will do is I will go through this video the things which I actually found extremely useful, yeah, just explain a couple of things that I think went particularly well. So just on the very few things that I probably wouldn't take next time. Look, if you've seen my previous videos, I do quite a bit of off tracking and sort of navigation. So I always take a compass, but really I just didn't need it. To be honest, I probably would still take a compass, but never used it. Navigation's relatively easy and reasonably hard to sort of get yourself off track. I used All Trails as my sort of digital tracking system, and that didn't fail me at all. So that was brilliant. The things I didn't use almost at all were what's contained in this little sort of miscellaneous bag. So I've got an extra, sort of dry pack here. I've got some cordage, another sort of strap, and various repair items and so forth. Look, altogether this only weighs about 250 grams, so I probably would still take that. But I have to say, when I did sort of offload a few things at Ormiston Gorge, these three items sort of I just left behind because I just didn't see that I would need them. But again, if to do it again, I'd take all the same stuff. It's only 250 grams, and you just never know, what's going to sort of fall apart and need repair. The other thing that I took, which I really kind of didn't have to use, and but I did only because I had them, were my tent pegs. So really, there are enough rocks around to do the sort of big rock, little rock sort of system. So I could have got away without taking them at all. And if you've seen my video, you'll see that I actually very seldom use my tent. Of the 17 nights I was there, I only used the tent 4 nights at Stanley Chasm, Ormiston, and 2 nights at Redbank. And really that was just because of privacy. But else, other than that, I basically cowboy camped, which was brilliant, and I would highly recommend it if you're willing to give that a crack. The only issue with cowboy camping is that you can wake up with a little bit of dew on your in my case, my quilt. Look, my quilt is hydrophobic. The down's been treated, so it didn't make any difference to how warm I was actually inside the quilt. Because Larapinta is Central Australia, it takes about 15 minutes in the sun and everything's completely dry. So once the sun rose and put it in the sun, it was totally fine. So that was the only issue. I think there's also an advantage, particularly if you're in the high points. If you get yourself behind some of those shelters, you don't have a tent that's sort of sitting up and sort of catching the wind. So I think not having a tent in some of those locations is pretty good. Of course, you are susceptible to mosquitoes, and I actually got quite heavily. Badly bitten by mosquitoes at Brinkley Bluff, of all places, and so definitely take your Bushmans, and I sort of went through a pretty much tube of Stingos because I got some serious bites just in a half hour time. So definitely, yes, when the sun's going down, start covering up, start applying your repellent, because once those flies go and mosquitoes take over, depending on what time of year it is, you are totally susceptible to some significant mosquito activity, and I didn't even know it was happening. So the other thing I did jettison at Ormiston, as really because there's a duplicate between these two, is I just didn't need that. It's only 50 grams, but a little bit bulky that I had on the back of my pack, so I just kind of didn't take that. Mainly because I had the overlap of this. Now, while I'm talking about this, this is actually a last minute addition for me, so it's closed cell pad. This is the Out in the Goods one. The beauty of this particular one is it's very thin and weighs about the same as the other sort of closed cell mats. Look, I'd highly recommend this. It's tough. I've only got one little tear there. These things. It was hanging on the back of my pack. Yeah, probably sort of put the pack down a little bit too heavily, and just a very small tear. But other than that, absolutely, I would suggest absolutely critical to protect your blow-up mattress. There are lots of sharp rocks, particularly in the high points, and the spin effects and all that sort of stuff. I'd say that's a must-have if you want to protect your blow-up mattress. Look, in no particular order, I would also recommend wraparound sunglasses. Now, mirror glasses, not really my style, but the beauty of these is they wrap around, and why that's good is it stops the flies from getting in behind your glasses. So I didn't get any flies getting behind my glasses, even though they had a good crack. So I would highly recommend some wraparound glasses. The other thing I would highly recommend is some Leukoplast. So I pretty much almost went through all of that, probably got about a third left. Just when your feet or anything are feeling any sort of hot spots, this is like a sort of a peel-on callus. It just toughens up your skin immediately. It's got a bit of stretch in it, so you can stop the folds and create any more friction. It was brilliant. Also, it lasts for a couple of days, so I didn't have to sort of reapply this every day. It seems to be able to sort of cope with getting wet feet and whatnot as well. So absolutely critical piece of kit. And if you're going to take that, you do need a sharp knife. So this is the little knife I've got, open hole, and it's I've sharpened that to very sharp. But you kind of do need a sharp knife or a sharp pair of scissors to cut this, because you don't want sort of frayed edges, creating sort of uneven bits, on your feet or whatever. So that's certainly a critical item. Look, the other item I'd say is critical is hiking poles. So these are the ones I took. Just keep yourself steady. It's very uneven surfaces on the Larapinta, it certainly saved me from falling over a couple of times. Plus, I needed one of these to put up my tent when I did use it. Now, the issue I've got here, you might see here that I've actually lost the tip of this. Now, one of the things I had that happened to me fairly often is, as I'm sort of walking along, these tips get caught in gaps in rocks. So you're walking along, and all of a sudden you sort of your pole's stuck. So that did happen a fair amount of times, and somewhere after Ghost Gum camp, I lost the tip of this. Now, I've since found out that with these Black Diamond, I think they're trail, is these things are only attached to the poles with glue. Now, I personally don't think that's satisfactory, and if I was going to get another set of poles for a similar sort of, or do Larapinta again, I'd be getting poles that didn't rely on glue to hold this to that. Because the amount of wear and tear and force you experience there is pretty high. So thankfully it didn't matter. So this pole was just as good actually, without the tip as it was with it. So it didn't make any difference to its utility. But yeah, I'd probably, if I was going to get another pole, I'd find something that which actually secured that on with something other than glue, which is, yeah, as I say, fairly surprising. The other thing I took are these. Now these are, sort of menacing looking pair of gloves, but these are, I think they're relatively cheap. Well, they are relatively cheap. Just got them from the hardware store. And the good thing about these is they're rubberized. You can also use your phone with them, and they're good coverage, and they're not heavy, not hot, the main reason why I took them is, I did actually get a cut, and the advantage of having a glove, if you've got a cut, if you put a band-aid, your band-aid sort of is secure, and that was the main reason why I took them. But I ended up actually wearing them quite a lot, more as sun protection than anything else. But also, when I'm sort of scrabbling up quite sharp rocks, they offer some pretty good protection. Obviously lightweight. They're not kind of heavy duty in any way, but they're pretty good. They are they're Cyclops, so I end up wearing them quite a bit. The other thing, obviously, is their hairnet. So I've got a little Cedar Summit one here. Not a hairnet, bug net. So the flies didn't bother me as much as probably they bother some. Because I found the flies are mainly sitting on my pack rather than sort of in my face. So I actually reasonably seldom use this, but when they're really getting on my nerves, I put this on. And they're good. Obviously, the only disadvantage I find with these is when you put this on, the fly's got somewhere to land in front of your face. So you still got these flies in your face. You're just not getting in your eyes, and you're not inadvertently swallowing them. And I did swallow a few. I'd say that's pretty critical. Particularly the time of year I went. I guess the other thing I didn't use any of, but I would still take, is my first aid kit. So this has got my first aid kit in here. Always keep it in a dry bag because you just don't want all your bandages getting wet. Now, obviously got to take the first aid kit. That's a fairly comprehensive first aid kit. Thankfully, other than the stingos, I didn't use much of it. So, but you've obviously got to kind of take it. All right. The other really important bit of kit, obviously, is your pack. And I was super pleased with this. So this is the Hyperlight Southwest or something. Let me just Southwest. So it's a 70-litre pack, 1.1 kilograms. I found that really comfortable, as I've always found in all my shakedowns and all that sort of stuff. Super happy with it. I think that there's a couple of big advantages. One is the material's tough. So despite almost 3 weeks out in the Larapinta, the bottom here is really what cops it. And as you can see there, apart from being dirty, it is pretty much unblemished. So with all the spin effects, all the sharp rocks and all that sort of stuff, absolutely no damage whatsoever to that, or any of it, to be frank. So that's certainly a big tick. The other beautiful thing I think about this particular pack is that it does open the front and you roll it up and then clip the sides. And the good thing is that means that the pack size is very flexible. So when you've got lots of stuff on, it's quite high. But when you've got less, you just roll up more, and it still clips in the same way. So I think it's really good that it can flex to the amount of stuff you're carrying. The other thing I took was this Tyvek ground sheet, and if you've seen my one of my videos, I've talked about how I've made this for my my Hyperlight mid-1 tent. So it's shaped for for the sort of footprint of that. And I've put in these eyelets and this flexible strapping in each of the corners. This, I think, was fantastic, actually. And not so much for the tent, because I seldom used it, but it's just a really good, strong base, and you could lie it down on the sand or the dirt, and because it's it's a relatively large surface area, you've just got yourself quite a large clean area upon which you can sort of put gear on or get changed on or stuff like that. So having this and laying this down on a campsite and just having the ability to be clean and off the ground and off the soil was, I think, invaluable. It really made life a lot easier. And a bit of a happy sort of coincidence, I guess, or a happy outcome of this sort of arrangement I've done here is that a couple of the campsites, there's sort of reasonably sizable ants sort of floating around, and what I did, and I'll show you the images, is I put these around kind of quite big rocks, which lifted up the edges of the ground sheet off the ground, so the ants weren't able to sort of crawl straight onto the ground sheet and obviously bother me. So being off the ground, the ants could only get in. Well, the only way they could get in is to walk along the strap. But generally they would just basically walk underneath the ground sheet. So that certainly wasn't by design. It's just something that was a kind of a bit of a happy outcome of the way I made that ground sheet. I saw quite a few people with Tyvek ground sheets, so obviously quite popular. I did get a tear in it where I basically put my Helinox seat on it, and it sort of went through, but just a small hole, but that's easy enough to patch up. And I think just finally, just on power, so I did take lots of power banks because obviously I'm videoing and using 2 GoPros, and I've got my iPhone, and I've got a GPS Garmin as well. So power is important. So I did use this for the first half of my trek. So this is 20 milliamps of 20,000 milliamps of power. It's got the ability to charge up with these panels. I was getting pretty low by the time I got to Stanley Chasm, so I recharged it fully at the power outlet there. But by the time I got to Serpentine Gorge, basically I couldn't replenish enough power from the sun for this to be useful. So it ended up, when I got to Serpentine Gorge, I ditched that and had a replacement of this. So this here is a relatively older model, but bigger panels. It's only got a 6,000 milliamp battery, but I found that this charged up during the day and got at least 6,000 milliamps. At the end of the day, every day. So I just carried that on the back of my pack, as I did with that, and I found that was more effective in terms of capturing the power I needed for the trip. So so that's it. So as I say, just to follow up to my loadout, not so much of this stuff I didn't need, but there's definitely some things here that I would say are absolutely must-haves, other than obviously the obvious. But I'm just pulling out the ones that are I think particularly important and were particularly useful for me. Hopefully that's been of help, and if you've got any questions, obviously just leave some comments, and press like, and if you haven't subscribed, give that some consideration. I've got lots of videos coming out on my Larapinta experience coming out very shortly. Thanks for watching. Bye.